I, 26F, thought he was just my platonic best friend of 10 years. Until one rainy night changed everything. Have you ever looked at your best friend, the person who knows your worst habits, your messiest breakups, and your midnight panic attacks, and suddenly realized you've been completely blind for 10 years? I thought Sam was just my safe zone. The guy who brought me cold pizza after a breakdown and yelled at my awful exes. But one rainy Tuesday night in a tiny diner, a single 3-second look changed everything. I realized the love of my life hadn't been waiting for me out in the world. He had been sitting right across from me the entire time. Here is the story of how 10 years of platonic friendship turned into the deepest, most real love I've ever known. It all started back in our sophomore year at Ohio State. If you had told me back then that Sam and I would end up together, I would have laughed in your face. Honestly, we were an unlikely duo. I was an anxious, overthinking English major who lived off overpriced iced lattes and color-coded planners. Sam was a laid-back mechanical engineering student who wore faded hoodies, drove a beat-up 2008 Ford Focus, and had a heart far too big for his own good. We met in the most unromantic way possible, fighting over the last outlet at a crowded campus coffee shop during finals week. I needed to charge my laptop to finish a 20-page essay. He needed to charge his phone so he wouldn't miss a call from his mom. Instead of arguing, he smiled, this easy, crooked smile that instantly cut through my stress, and offered to split a power strip with me. We ended up sitting at that tiny wooden table for 6 hours. We didn't talk much at first, but around 2 a.m., we both hit a wall. We started talking about worst professors, terrible dorm food, and childhood memories. By the time the sun came up, I felt like I had known him my whole life. From that day on, we were inseparable, but it was strictly, completely platonic. There was never any weird tension or awkward flirtation. We became each other's anchors. When I went through a messy breakup with my boyfriend at the time, Sam showed up at my apartment within 15 minutes, carrying a box of glazed donuts and a bad comedy movie. When Sam failed a major engineering exam and felt like giving up on his degree, I stayed up with him all night, pumping him full of coffee and convincing him he was smart enough to push through. We had our own little world. We had inside jokes that no one else understood, weekly Taco Tuesday runs, and a mutual agreement that we would always tell each other the blunt truth no matter what. Everyone in our social circle loved us together, but whenever people asked, "Are you guys dating?" we'd laugh it off. "Nah, Sam's like a brother to me," I'd say. "She's my ride or die, but definitely not my girlfriend," Sam would reply with a grin. And for years, we both truly believed that. After graduation, reality hit us hard. We both got jobs in Chicago. I started working as a junior editor at a lifestyle digital magazine, and Sam landed a job at an engineering firm downtown. Even as our lives became busier, our friendship remained the one constant thing. We got apartments just 4 blocks away from each other. While everyone else in their mid-20s was scrambling to navigate the corporate world, dating apps, and paying bills, Sam and I had each other. We went through the painful cycle of modern dating together. I went on endless, exhausting Tinder and Hinge dates with guys who either talked only about crypto or vanished after 3 weeks. Sam dated a couple of girls, but none of those relationships ever seemed to stick. Whenever I was getting ready for a date, I'd send Sam photos of my outfits. "Option A or option B?" I'd text him. He'd reply, "Option A. Option B looks like you're trying to impress a guy who doesn't deserve you." When his relationships ended, I was the one who helped him move out of his ex's place or cooked him a hot meal when he was too drained to care. We were comfortable. Too comfortable, maybe. I remembered sitting on his couch one Friday evening, eating takeout sushi, watching some random crime documentary. I looked over at him. He was stretched out in his sweats, totally unbothered, laughing at a silly joke. And for a split second, a weird thought crossed my mind. Why is it so easy with Sam, but so hard with everyone else? I quickly brushed the thought away. I didn't want to ruin what we had. A good friend is rare. A best friend is irreplaceable. I wasn't going to risk a 10-year bond for a fleeting passing thought. Everything changed during the autumn of our 26th year. It was late October. Chicago was cold, wet, and windy. I had just gone through one of the most humiliating dating experiences of my life. A guy I had been seeing for 4 months, someone I thought had real potential, ghosted me out of nowhere. I found out through Instagram that he had gotten back with his ex-girlfriend. I was crushed. It wasn't even just about that guy. It was the overwhelming feeling that I was unlovable, that I was just a placeholder until people found what they actually wanted. It was pouring rain outside. I was sitting on my living room floor in an oversized sweater, crying my eyes out, feeling utterly exhausted. There was a knock on the door. It was Sam. He didn't ask questions. He just walked in, took off his soaked jacket, and saw me sitting on the floor. He dropped his keys on the counter, walked over, and sat down right next to me on the rug. Without a word, he pulled me into his arms. I buried my face in his chest and just wept. He didn't tell me to calm down. He didn't offer toxic positivity. He just held me tightly, wrapping his warm arms around me, resting his chin on top of my head, gently stroking my hair. "I'm sorry, Jess," he whispered softly into the quiet room. "I'm so sorry he hurt you. He's an absolute idiot." "Why is it always like this, Sam?" I sobbed, pulling back just enough to look at him. "Why can't I just find someone who stays? Someone who actually sees me?" Sam stayed silent for a moment. The room was dark, lit only by the warm amber glow of the streetlights outside through the rain-streaked window. He didn't pull away. He looked straight into my eyes, his face inches from mine. His expression wasn't his usual goofy, best friend look. It was intense, soft, and terrifyingly honest. He lifted his hand and gently wiped a tear off my cheek with his thumb. His hand lingered on my jaw. "Jess, he said, his voice dropping to a low, quiet tone I had never heard from him before. "You deserve someone who sees you every single day. Someone who knows how incredible you are and wouldn't dream of walking away." My breath hitched in my throat. The air in the room suddenly felt heavy, electric. For the first time in 10 years, I wasn't looking at Sam, my best friend. I was looking at a man. A handsome, steady, incredibly kind man who was holding me like I was the most fragile, valuable thing in his world. My heart began to hammer against my ribs. I looked at his lips, then back up at his eyes. I could see something shifting in his eyes too, a sudden realization, a moment of pure vulnerability. He didn't kiss me that night. He stayed until I fell asleep, keeping his hand wrapped in mine on the couch. But the damage was done. The line had been crossed, and neither of us could pretend we hadn't felt it. The weeks following that rainy night were absolute torture, in the best and worst ways possible. Suddenly, everything felt different. The casual physical contact we had shared for a decade, a casual hug, a shoulder bump, sitting close on the couch, now sent a jolt of electricity straight through my nerves. Whenever he walked into a room, my heart did a strange little flip. When he smiled at me, I caught myself blushing like a teenager. And I noticed him acting differently too. He wasn't as loud. He looked at me longer than usual. Whenever we were out with group friends, his attention was always anchored on me. One Saturday evening, we went to a local diner around midnight. It was our usual spot, a retro late-night joint with red vinyl booths and dim lighting. We sat across from each other, sipping hot coffee. "You've been quiet lately," Sam said, tracing the rim of his mug with his finger. "Just thinking," I lied, looking down at my hands. "About work?" "No, about us," I blurted out before my brain could filter my thoughts. The table went completely silent. The hum of the diner's neon sign vibrated in the background. Sam leaned back, his eyes fixed on me. "What about us, Jess?" I swallowed hard, feeling my pulse racing in my ears. "Tom, do you ever feel like things are different now? Between us?" He didn't dodge the question. He didn't joke about it. He just leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table, closing the distance between us. "Jess, things haven't been different for just a few weeks," he said, his voice steady and deeply sincere. I think I've been falling for you for a very long time. I was just too terrified of losing you to admit it to myself." My heart completely stopped. "You have? How could I not?" Sam laughed softly, a nervous, vulnerable sound. "You're my favorite person in the entire world. You have been for 10 years. Every time I tried to date someone else, I was just looking for pieces of you in them, and nobody ever measured up." Tears pricked the corners of my eyes, but this time they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of overwhelming relief. "I thought I was crazy," I confessed, my voice trembling. "I thought I was making it up in my head." Sam reached across the table and took my hand. His grip was warm, solid, and safe. "You're not crazy," he whispered. "I love you, Jess. Not just as my best friend. I'm completely in love with you." We walked back to my apartment that night through the crisp autumn air, hand in hand. It felt completely new, yet entirely natural, like stepping into a home I had owned for years but had never fully lived in. When we reached my doorway, Sam turned to face me. The hallway light cast a soft glow over us. "Can I kiss you?" he asked quietly, giving me the choice. I didn't answer with words. I pulled him by his jacket collar and leaned in. When his lips met mine, it wasn't frantic or rushed. It was gentle, deep, and overwhelming. 10 years of trust, laughter, late-night conversations, shared secrets, and unexpressed longing poured into that single kiss. It felt like coming home after a long, exhausting journey. When we finally pulled back, we were both breathless. Sam rested his forehead against mine, his arms wrapped securely around my waist. "So," he murmured, a soft smile playing on his lips. "What happens now?" "Now," I smiled back, running my fingers through his soft hair. "We stopped pretending." Transitioning from best friends to romantic partners wasn't a sudden shock, it was an evolution. We already knew everything about each other. There were no fake first impressions, no games, no fear of showing our flaws. The trust was already built. All we did was add the romance. 2 years after that midnight conversation in the diner, Sam took me back to that same coffee shop at Ohio State where we had first shared a power strip. Right there near that tiny wooden table, he got down on one knee and asked me to spend the rest of my life with him. Looking back, people often ask me when our friendship turned into love. The truth is, it didn't happen in a single day. It happened slowly, in every donut he brought me, every laugh we shared, every tear he wiped away, and every moment he stood by my side when the rest of the world felt chaotic. True love didn't storm into my life with dramatic sparks or crazy games. It snuck up on me quietly, wrapped in the comforting disguise of my very best friend.